my name is Derek from Tomcat Gas Training and welcome to the continuing episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly of the place where I live, Hyde. Now hopefully in this episode we're going to see more good than the bad and the ugly. Now today's route is going to be taking me up that hill over there so we can see exactly what this obelisk thing on top of the hill is what I see out of my bedroom window every morning when I open the curtains. Are you coming? Well, come on then, let's get on with it. Now, the information in these videos is basically what I remember, a bit of hearsay and a bit of the internet. And I was quite surprised how many people have actually watched the first episode. And a couple of Hyde historians have told me I made a couple of mistakes in the video. So hopefully it hasn't ruined part one for you. So I've also had quite a few really good and really nice comments from people about doing other videos. So I was always going to do this video to continue part one. So we'll see what happens with the reaction to this one. And hopefully I don't make too many mistakes. Now this is the old railway bridge which used to lead to my house before the housing estate was built, and at the moment they're making repairs to it. It must be falling down, but I'm actually stood on the new bridge which was made, now I'm guessing now it was, I know the estate was still being built in 1988 because I used to walk around the estate with my ex-wife when she was pregnant with Kate. So I don't know, early middle 80s, about 85ish, something like that. Now my first stop is here, Vincent Park, which is just right at the end of Sheffield Road. So the road you can see there is Mottram Road, the Godley train station is there, and this is Vincent Park. I've lived in Hyde nearly 50 years and I don't know anything about Vincent Park. I've come in here for years walking the dog, and I don't know anything about it. So if any of you guys know anything about Vincent Park, can you put it in the comments below, because I'd love to know why it's called Vincent Park and why it's here. I couldn't find anything on the internet about it. So let's go through the woods here because it's great down there. Conker Wood, as we used to call it when we were kids. Let's go and have a look. Now just to my left from this Vincent Park opening is probably something anybody under the age of 30 has never ever used. Let's go and have a look at that. This has to be one of the last remaining phone boxes in Hyde. And it still works. There's no glass, but the phone still works. So you can just see here the tunnel that takes Godley Brook under Mottram Road. Been here before. This is Walker Lane football pitch next door to the leisure pool. I've never seen it looking so good. I've had some really great games on there and some shockers. I wish I could still play now. Now down this path is a good part of Hyde, so let's go and find out what's down here. This is the Eighthorn Godley Trail. So basically what this is about 2.5 kilometres, 1.5 mile stretch of old disused railway. So that way is Godley and Green Lane, and behind you is Eighthorn Lane in G Cross. So this was built about 2001 if I remember, for the people of Hyde, for walking, cycling, and you could even get wheelchairs along here because it's that flat. Now the train line was mostly used for freight going from Godley Junction to Liverpool or Chester and bypassing the main Manchester stations. It was built in 1865 and in 1954 the turntable was installed after the line was electrified. Well, not the line was electrified. It had electric put to it for the trains. Anyway, when they closed the Woodhead in the 1970s, the line became unused, and in 1981 they closed this line completely. So this section, like I said, I think it was started in 2000 and opened in 2001. So at the other end, at the Eighthorn Lane, you can gain access to the Peak Forest Canal, and you can actually get onto the Cheshire Ring Canal system from there. My word, is this place still going? Rainbow Corner. My daughter came here. She's 33 now. Oh my word. We're right next to the Clark's Arms, which surprisingly is still going too. Well, probably will do when this lockdown finishes. It's one of the few remaining pubs in Hyde now, I think. Now behind me is Hyde Chapel Cemetery, which was built in 1894, which became famous in 1998 because of our good friend Dr. Shipman. Now there's two people I want to pay my respects to in here while I'm here, so let's go and pay my respects. Now the first lady I want to pay my respects to, which I went and did, was to Kathleen Grundy, and she was the infamous Dr. Shipman's last victim. Now I couldn't come to Hyde Cemetery without seeing my sister-in-law Carolyn. She died in 2012. Now, between August 1998 and December 1998, I think there were 6 bodies exhumed from this cemetery, which were in conjunction with the investigation of Dr. Shipman. Now, Kathleen Grundy was his last victim, but she was the first one to be exhumed. So she died at home on the 24th of June 1998, and she was buried on the 1st of July 1998. And just over 1 month later, on the 11th of August 1998, her body was exhumed. Mrs. Kathleen Grundy was an ex-mayoress of Hyde, and she was the downfall of Dr. Shipman because he tried to swindle her family out of her £386,000 estate. He tried to forge her will to say she'd left it to him. We're going to see a little bit more about Mrs. Kathleen Grundy a little bit later on in this film. Now, just outside the cemetery gates is Richmond House. Now, Richmond House was Jack Griffiths, the ex-Manchester United footballer, who then went on to be a physiotherapist place. In 1980, when he retired, his son Keith took over, and I think Keith has got quite a lot of people from Hyde back on their feet. Me being one of them after being paralysed in a car accident in 2008. Keith helped me in my road to recovery, so I've got a lot to thank Keith for. That's a good part of Hyde. Now, this tree behind me is known locally as the Big Tree, and it's not the original big tree, because the original big tree, what used to be here or around here somewhere, used to be the original border of Hyde and G Cross. Now, that's Lily Street and Stockport Road right here, so it's right on the junction of Lily Street and Stockport Road. Now, the big tree now here commemorates the fallen of the Falklands War in 1982, or was it? Yeah, 1982, and those killed in Northern Ireland. This was planted here in 1983, so it's done quite well since 1983. So that's the big tree. Now, this big empty space, this big field behind me, used to be a reservoir. It used to be Stone Pit Reservoir, which was commonly known as Diamond Row Reservoir, because there used to be a row of cottages here, and I think they called them Diamond Row because they had diamond leaded windows. So this used to be a reservoir, and I think it was filled in the 80s. I think I remember it being filled in, but I'm not quite sure. So yeah, we used to have a reservoir here. It became unfit for human consumption, so they filled it in. Now let's leave Hyde behind us and let's go on to G Cross and find out what G Cross has got to offer before we get up that big hill. Come on then, let's get on with it. Now, we're in the centre of G Cross. That way's Hattersley, that way's Hyde, and behind you is Woodley and Stockport. So, let's get into the town centre, which isn't that big, and find out what was going on in G Cross. Now, the house behind me isn't anything special in G Cross, but it's special to me because in 1989 that's where we had my first wedding reception. I wonder if Nora and Tom still live there. Now, this stunning church behind me here is Hyde Chapel, and it is said that there's been a church on this site since about 1708. This particular church was built in about 1846. Now, it's said that church on this site is the oldest church in the Hyde area, and that's probably because way back then, G Cross was actually a bigger populated area than Hyde. So that's probably why they built this church here. And the next church to be built was St George's in Hyde. So that gives you some idea of the history of the churches around here. Now this church is a Grade 2 listed building, and there is also another Grade 2 listed, it's classed as a building, on this site. So let's go through this really overgrown graveyard and find out what this other Grade 2 listed building is. And here it is behind me. It's the old stocks for the village of G Cross. What they're doing in a church graveyard, I don't know, but that's what they are. The stocks for G Cross, and they are Grade 2 listed. Now these old village stocks are dated 1712, and they were restored in 2000 by the efforts of the ladies of the G Cross and District Women's Institute. So well done, ladies. Now also in this very overgrown graveyard is the graves for the Potter family, and they are the grandparents of the author Beatrix Potter. And it is also said that the parents of Beatrix Potter were married in the church. Now let's leave this amazing church, and we're just going to go over the road over there to Joe Lane. So let's get to the bottom of Joe Lane and find out what that's got to offer. Now I am at the start of Rock Street, and that house you can see right at the end, the white one right at the end in the distance, was Ricky Hatton's house. He's now moved just down the road onto a big posh estate, but that was his house and he would live there while he was boxing. Now I'm at the bottom of Joe Lane, which is up there, which is the long climb up now to the low. We're outside the Grapes Hotel, so let's start trudging up the hill. The house you can see behind me used to be Kathleen Grundy's house. This is the house that Dr. Shipman decided he fancied the look of, and this is where he forged her will so he could gain this property, so they say. Beautiful house. Just outside the house we've got these little fellas with their little babies. Hello. Don't think it likes me being near the little babies. Things you find, in the Hyde area. This, what you can see here, is one of three of, is that three? Yeah, it was one of three wells in G Cross. It's basically a horse trough. But once a year there is a well dressing festival, which is quite common in the Pennines to do that. And I know about this because my ex-mother-in-law, I think she still does it. But I could do it sitting in this now because I've got to go up this massive big hill, and I think I'll need a drink when I get to the top. So the water's still running. Don't actually know where they get the water from, but it's always full. Must be some kind of stream somewhere. trudging up this hill. So while I was trudging up this long hill of Joel Lane, I kept coming across these little fellas. And basically, after asking one of the local residents what it was all about, he said it was a way of the people of G Cross to cheer themselves up and have this competition. So there is going to be a winner. I loved this. So I've made it to the top. I'm not as knackered as I thought it would be. But this is what we're here to see, what's behind me now. So let's go and see what that is. Now, before we go off to the country park, there's another phone box there. Shall we go and see that? Because it's one of the old style phone boxes. And there's something very special about that phone box. So let's go and have a look. Now, first of all, like the other one, let's check if it works. Oh. There is no phone. It's just a phone box. But the special thing about this, have you ever been up here and noticed this phone box? Is that? What does that say? Is someone taking the mickey? Let's go around the other side. See, it's got the crown and the telephone. On this side, we've got the crown and the telephone. And on this side, we've got the crown and the telephone. But at least Godley has still got our working phone box. So let's get over there and get to the country park.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Now, this is the entrance to Werneth Low Country Park, and this is where the path leading to that obelisk, what you could see right at the very beginning. So let's follow the path and find out exactly what that obelisk was, what we saw right at the very beginning of this video. Once you get on the top of the low, have you ever noticed the two masts just behind the golf course? Well, there's actually three masts. There's two on Idle Hill and one, which you can see on the right hand side, which is at the golf course, and they are part of the Werneth Low wireless station. But we're not here for the wireless station. We're here to find out what this obelisk is. So let's go and find out exactly what this is. So what I'm trying to say here, before I realised that my microphone had broken, that this is what we could see from the house. So this is actually the cenotaph, or the war memorial for the fallen, originally for the First World War. Then after the Second World War, they also made it a First and Second World War memorial. So this is what we've been seeing and what we've been trying to reach from the beginning of this video. So let's go and have a closer look at the war memorial. Now this war memorial is just over 8.2 metres high, or just over 27 feet in old money. It was unveiled on the 25th of June 1921 by a Mrs. Evelyn Rose Welch, who was the Mayoress of Hyde during the Great War. It was unveiled in front of between 13,000 and 15,000 people. Well, not being there at the time, so it's somewhere between those figures. They also had a second unveiling on the 5th of May 1963 to commemorate 162 servicemen and women and also 12 civilians that lost their lives in the Second World War. Now we are stood on a hill which is called Hacking Knife Hilltop. It is about 800 feet above sea level. It's now what is Werneth Low Country Park. So let's have a look at this obelisk or war memorial more closely and find out exactly what it's all about and what it's made of. The top of the memorial is made from grey Cornish granite, and it stands on a Portland cement base, and it cost £2,000. It was made by a company called Joseph Whitehead and Sons from London, and it was chosen over 39 other designs. On the front side of the memorial, actually facing Hyde, is the bronze coat of arms of the borough. On the next side of the monument there is an inscription which says that this monument is honouring the 710 men of Hyde that fell during the Great War. The next face of the monument is actually the plaque commemorating World War II, but this time it commemorates the fallen men, women and civilians of World War II. And on the final side of the memorial there is another inscription which reads, "They willingly left the unachieved purpose of their lives in order that all life should not be wrenched from its purpose." So, as you can see going round this cenotaph, war memorial, there are no names on this memorial at all. All the names of the fallen are on big wooden boards actually in Hyde Town Hall. So, it's 12 o'clock. Can't think of a better place to have some lunch. So, I'm going to have some lunch while I look at this lovely view. So, these are the trees you can see to the side of the cenotaph or the obelisk from our house. So, this is a cross. Came across now. And there's a reservoir, and the little white house you can see down there is our house. So that's where we started off from this morning. Now this memorial commemorates the 710 men that had fallen from Hyde. Now in the first video, at the end of the first video, I looked at the memorial for the soldiers that fell from Godley. Now those guys are also on the memorial boards in the town hall and at Godley Church. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace a few of the guys, because there are a few who died who all lived on the same street. So at the end of the video we're going to look at some of these 710 guys. I'll find out a little bit more about these guys that fell in the First World War. So the War Memorial is part of 154 acres of land bought by the Memorial Committee for the recreation of the people of Hyde. £14,013, 14 shillings and 8 pence was raised by the people of Hyde to pay for the land and the memorial. The land that was purchased was a place called Lower Hyde Estate, which was basically a farm and its farmland. They also used £3,500 of the money to build a maternity home and hospital, which we're going to look at a bit later on in this film. The remaining money was used as a scholarship grant for 268 children for the fallen who received £4 per year between the ages of 11 and 16. They attended Hyde County School, which then went on to become Hyde Grammar School for boys and then Hyde Sixth Form. The land stands 500 feet above Hyde Town Centre, and the Memorial Committee put the land into trust for people of Hyde. In 1974, when Hyde became part of Tameside, the council took a new look at the War Memorial and Werneth Low, and Werneth Low Country Park was born. The park opened on the 9th of June 1980 and is jointly run by Hyde Memorial Trust and Tameside Council. Now, just set back from the cenotaph is this Werneth Low Country Park Viewfinder, which basically is a dial which tells you what you are looking at from behind the dial, looking straight forward. Now, there's a little plaque on the side of the viewfinder which says it's to commemorate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, our Queen, but I don't remember it being there before 1980. The Queen did visit Werneth Low once though. Where the roads meet at Cowlishaw Road and Werneth Low Road, there is a triangle, which is locally known as the Queen's Trees, and that's because Queen Elizabeth II planted a tree there on her state visit in 1967. Now, once again, guys, if you know anything about this viewfinder when it was actually put here, like I say, I've been going up the low since the 70s and I don't remember it being there until 1980 when the park opened. So if you know any information, let me know. Now, on the ring around the actual dial, the maker's name's there and it says Automaster Limited, so I guess, I'm only guessing, that it's the Automaster what used to be in Hyde on the top of Manchester Road. So again, if you know any more information about that, let me know please in the comment section. So let's leave the cenotaph behind us, and I just want to go to the main entrance of the park because there's a few things I want to show you there. Now, the two pillars you see behind me were originally from Werneth Lodge. They are now the entrance to the car park for the country park and the visitors centre, which is just over there, which is closed at the moment because of shutdown. Now, these were moved when the old lodge was knocked down, but the old lodge was turned into the maternity home, so Aspelin Maternity Hospital, which was part of the money they gained from making the cenotaph. Now, the big thing for me for that was my ex-wife Caroline was born there. So let's go and have a look and see what's left of the old Aspelin Werneth Maternity Hospital. It's just down there. 2 generations of Hyde children were born there, my ex-wife Caroline being one of them. In 1947 it became part of the NHS, and in the 1970s the maternity hospital was centralised to Ashton Hospital. So this is the original site, and you can see when they knocked it down they built more houses. Now let's leave Werneth Low Country Park, and I want to go back into Godley and back into the town centre of Godley because I want to follow up on a few of the soldiers who were named from the cenotaph. So even though their names are not on the cenotaph, which is just over there, they're in the town hall in Hyde. I just want to follow up on those and just talk about the guys from Godley who actually are commemorated on the cenotaph. So let's have the long walk home and back down into Godley town centre. Well, Godley village centre as it should be. Come on then. Now, behind me here is the new Godley Primary School. If I turn around this way, what this housing estate is now, here, that used to be the old Godley Primary School. And when I was a kid, there was air raid shelters there for the war. Now the reason why I'm here is I want to go up this little passage, because down this little passage takes me to Fountain Street. Just automobile. And Fountain Street is where quite a few of the soldiers off the memorial boards were named as living. So let's go and have a look at Fountain Street. Now this house on the corner here, again when I was a kid, was Betty and Granville's corner shop. Do you remember it? And the house behind me here, 67 Fountain Street, was my ex-mother and father-in-law's house when I was growing up, when I was a kid. Happy times in that house, happy times. Number 60 was also one of the houses of the fallen. it was George Brickerdike, who was from the 1st Battalion of the Welsh Regiment. So, just down from my ex-outlaw's house is the first house I want to look at, and it is 56 Fountain Street, which should be this one here. So, the house here, 56 Fountain Street, was the home of Private Thomas Fell. He was part of... Let me just stop the video there. Okay, when I make these videos, I don't mean to upset anybody or offend anybody. So I've thought long and hard and deliberated long and hard about leaving this section of the video in. I've decided I'm going to leave it in. Now again, if I've offended you or upset anybody in any way making these films, I apologise. Let's get back to the film. Taking a picture of this one and my ex-mother and father-in-law's house.
Well, why was you here? Why was you here like this?
I was not there like that.
I've seen you there, mate.
Do you want to look at my camera?
Oh, look at your camera, yeah.
Do you want to have a look?
You think it's on?
Try it.
Will I? Right, okay, stay there.
Bell end. What's it got to do with you? I was not filming your house.
What was you looking at then?
I was stood, I had my camera here and I was getting my notes out the back of my
Yeah,
bag.
I've seen you do that. Get on the floor, get your notes out.
Yeah? And I didn't film your house.
You went there.
I filmed, that used to be Betty and Granville's corner shop.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah? That's where my mother and father-in-law used to live.
Yeah.
And I used to live down the bottom down there.
Would have been nice to knock on the door and say, listen, da-da-da-da-da-da.
No, I'm not filming your house. If I was filming your house, I would do, but I'm not. Idiot. Okay, so I've left this part of the filming just to prove to the guy I wasn't filming his house and I wasn't trying to offend him. So if you are watching this video, you know who you are, and all I can say is I apologise for my provoked outburst. Okay, let's get on with the rest of the video. So the house here at 56 Fountain Street was the home of Thomas Fell. He was part of the Welsh Fusiliers. Number 11 was the home of Robert Pritchard, who was actually in the 9th Battalion of the Cheshire Regiment. Number 47 Fountain Street was the home of Fred Kinder, who was in 20th Battalion of the Manchester Regiment. Across the road at number 48, the white one, was William Edward Pearce, and he was part of the 5th Battalion of the Welsh Borderers. Now, the only sailor I can find on the memorial lived here at 56 High Street, Godley, so literally just up from where I grew up, and his name was Ernest Farnley, and he was on quite a famous ship. He was on HMS Invincible, which actually sank at the Battle of Jutland. He was only 18 years old. HMS Invincible was built in 1907. She was the lead ship of her class of 3 battle cruisers built for the Royal Navy during the first decade of the 20th century, and the first battle cruiser to be built by any country in the world. She displaced 17,530 tons. She was 567 feet long. She had a top speed of 25.5 knots, which is about 29.3 miles per hour, with a range of around 3,090 miles. She had 1,000 men on board when she went down. The Battle of Jutland was fought from the 31st of May to the 1st of June 1916 off the North Sea coast of Denmark at the Jutland Peninsula. The naval battle was fought between Britain's Royal Navy Grand Fleet under Admiral Sir John Jellicoe and the Imperial German Navy's High Sea Fleet under Vice Admiral Reinhard Schneer during the First World War. So he's literally not far away from the memorial at the church. So let's go and see if we can find the names of these guys back on the memorial which we looked at in the first video. Come on then. So, Ernest Farnley. Ernest is actually here. You can actually see his house from his name. I wonder if that was just pure luck, because it is alphabetical. Ernest died on Wednesday the 31st of May 1916 when his ship went down. So, Robert Pritchard from 11 Fountain Street. I did him an injustice because he was actually Sergeant Robert Pritchard, so he's named here down at the bottom. Robert died on Friday the 15th of September 1916 in France, aged 33. Fred Kinder from number 47 Fountain Street is here on the same one as Robert. Fred died on Monday the 1st of October 1917 in Belgium, aged just 22. Also on here is Corporal William Edward Pierce from number 48 Fountain Street, but there is also a Charlie Pierce just above him. I wonder if they were related. William died on the 25th of March 1918 at Flanders in France, aged 42. So, Thomas Fell from 56 Fountain Street, he's just got Tom Fell on here, is on the first plaque. Thomas died on Monday the 13th of November 1916 in France, aged 32. So, Sergeant George Bickerdire from 60 Fountain Street, remember what used to be the old corner shop, I don't know if it was a corner shop in his time, is on the same plaque as Tom. I keep getting this poor man's name wrong, but George Bickerdike was killed in action on Saturday the 20th of February 1915 in Flanders in France, aged 28. So again, I finish off ending this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly of Hyde outside Godley Church. So hopefully there was more good in this one than bad. So a short walk home now and I can rest my weary feet. But Godley has 2 telephone boxes. Wonder if this one works. No, don't work this one. Never mind. 1 out of 2 is not bad. 50%. Now, my last hill to walk up on the way home, and the end of part 2 of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly of Hyde. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, why don't you give me a thumbs up or leave a constructive comment in the comment section down below. If you think you need to add something about I've cocked up, then put it in the comment section down below. And I apologise if I've made any mistakes. Now, all I've got left to say is, I used to live down there, Greenhill Road. Anyway, all I've got left to say is, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and tune in for part 3, which is coming soon. Cheers guys!